Hello, everyone. So, with Biden having been inaugurated and having been president for around 2 days now, I think now is a good time to go ahead and go over what he has done in his first day and what he is planning to do going forward. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the good that has been done and is seemingly going to be done, and I'm going to go over the bad as well that has been done and is going to be done in the future. So, I'm not gonna go too in depth on these things. And by the way, this isn't everything. I kind of left some things out on purpose. I pretty much just gathered together the things or compiled the things that have interested me the most, and I will present them to you now. So what we'll do first, we'll start with the good. So he rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, the Paris Climate Accords. That's really good. And some Republicans like Ted Cruz are freaking out. Like he's an idiot. He thinks like it's strictly for Paris, or I don't know. He's dumb. But if you know anything about the Paris Climate Agreement, it's really just a step in the right direction. The provisions that it entails is just save energy here, do this there. It's not this huge thing. Many more steps need to be taken, but it is a step in the right direction in regards to climate change. He rescinded the Muslim ban. Great thing. He required masks on federal property. Excellent. He rejoined the World Health Organization. Now, those of you that can harken back, remember Donald Trump was in the process of pulling us away from that. He canceled that, put us back into the World Health Organization, and now Fauci gets to have all the spotlight again. Joking. Not really. White House COVID-19 response team. He created that in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic, of course. He extended foreclosures and eviction moratoriums. He just extended them. They're set to expire at the end of March. He froze student loan debt collection through September the 30th. That's a really good thing for those that are struggling with student loan debt. He needs to cancel it. Don't forget, he has the power to cancel all student loan debt through executive order. He does. You need to pressure him on that. Okay? But he did freeze it through September the 30th. He revoked the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. A lot of climate activists have been lobbying for that to be done for a while. And this was something that I hadn't been hearing about leading up until his inauguration. And he actually did it. And that's a really good thing for the climate. He strengthened legal protections for dreamers. Once again, great for immigrants. He halted construction of the Mexico border wall that was going on. They're going to review it and what have you. Good thing there. And this is probably my favorite. He fired Donald Trump's appointed Labor Board General Counsel and deputy. So for those of you who don't know, the Labor Board General Counsel that was appointed by Donald Trump had about 10 months more to serve on his term. Joe Biden told him and his deputy, resign by the end of the day or you're gone. They didn't resign, so now they're gone. So for those of you that don't know about this guy, and I'll probably leave an article in the description. There's a great Washington Post article about this whole thing. He's the head of the labor board, but he's like anti-union, anti-worker, the whole nine. So he's pro-employer. He's like pro-corporate. Like he's not for workers whatsoever. And one thing that Joe Biden has said, and we have to wait and see, I hope it happens, he says he wants to be the most, or he will be the most pro-union president in history. And I pray that comes true. I don't really have to like Joe Biden to not hope or to hope that he does that. You know what I mean? So I really do hope that those sayings from him come to fruition. So yeah, this guy, really bad guy, anti-union, anti-worker, glad he's gone, and his deputy, fuck her too. And the Republicans are like, oh, that's divisive, that isn't good. Shut the fuck up. New administration, new people. You know what the deal is. Don't play around. Those people don't care about workers whatsoever. And the Democrats only care a little bit more about workers than they do, but we'll take what we can get, right? And finally, the last good thing is he did a 5-year extension on the nuclear arms treaty with Russia. Okay, So Trump was working on that towards the end of his presidency. He didn't get anything done there, but well, he didn't do it yet. They're working on it, and I saw reports that leaders in Russia were going to review it, and it seems like things are going to go pretty well there, and that's actually really good, not just for the fate of the country, but for the fate of the world. You know, nuclear warfare is something that no one should want under any circumstances. That could wipe out all life in existence on the planet as we know it. So we should really hope that this comes to fruition. But there's a bad side to this, and I'll get to that when I review the bad, which is what I would do right now. So here we go with the bad, and it is kind of bad. They walk back the stimulus checks. So they're walking back on the stimulus checks promises. And I'm going to make a separate video about this. I'm not going to get into it too much here. But if you've been paying attention, the $2,000 checks that they promised are now down to $1,400. And they might not even come until, at best, mid-February, but being realistically, March or April. And I'm going to make an entirely separate video about that because it deserves it. So his COVID relief plan in regards to healthcare, it's going to shovel billions of dollars to private health insurers by providing subsidies for Americans to buy coverage through the ACA marketplaces. Now, what I have in front of me is an article from David Sirota that expands on this. So he says, buying coverage through the ACA marketplaces is far more expensive than government healthcare programs and have at times been plagued by high rates of claim denials. America's health insurance plans and the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, two insurance lobby groups in Washington that have opposed the expansion of government-sponsored healthcare programs, of course, because they're corrupt and they're greedy. This is why we need Medicare for all. And so he explains that Biden's inauguration committee has received donations from at least two major health insurers, Anthem and Centene, I think that's how you say that, who cares, which both offer plans on state marketplace exchanges. During the 2020 primary campaign, Biden repeatedly demonized Medicare for all legislation. Look, I don't need to go too far into that. We know that he's a huge recipient of health insurance money, big pharma. He's been so deep into their pockets his entire political career. He said himself that if Medicare for all came across his desk, he would veto it. There is no pushing this man left, at least on the basis of healthcare. I would argue there's no pushing him left, period. Okay, you have to fight him and contest him on those issues, but he's not going to go there willingly, at the very least. He's not going to go there willingly. Now, let's move on. He plans to recognize Juan Guaido as leader of Venezuela. Okay, for those of you that don't like Maduro or you don't like anything, whatever, doesn't matter. Nicolas Maduro is the leader of Venezuela. And they're trying to, so what they want to do is they want to impose even more sanctions on Venezuela to try to force him out of power. So what they want to do is they want to topple a sovereign nation's government, do regime change in order to save democracy. Maduro was democratically elected. No matter what you say about him, even if the process was jaded, even if he cheated, that has nothing to do with us. That's a foreign nation. Why are we meddling in their politics? That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so he also this is the negative effect of the thing with Russia. Remember, I just stated when I was talking about the good things, he plans to extend the 5-year nuclear arms treaty. Well, he also wants to impose cost on Russia pending an intel community assessment. Now, you might be wondering, well, what the hell does that mean? It's basically punitive. Okay, so he wants to do this, and what this basically stems from is Russiagate. Russiagate. The endless propaganda that we got when Donald Trump was in office, they think that they need to be even more hawkish when it comes to Russia, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid on a detrimental issue like this when it comes to like the world as we know it in nuclear warfare, and you're letting a conspiracy theory orient the way you go about doing a deal with a foreign nation. That says a lot about you and your administration, at least to me. Okay, So that's that there. He reversed Donald Trump's drawdown of troops in Iraq by adding thousands more to combat terror threats. If you know anyone that is in support, and you shouldn't because the polls are astronomically low for this, that support the endless wars that we do across this world, especially in places like Iraq and what have you, ask them what their definition of victory is. They're sending more troops to combat terror threats, to combat terrorism. So if you don't know, there was an article about this. There was a suicide. There were, I think, 2 suicide bombings in Baghdad, and I think they were close to maybe like a U.S. Facility or base or something like that. I'm the details are murky for me. I read it sometime this morning or yesterday, whenever it was published. But they're sending more troops in. They claim to love the troops. They claim to care about the troops. If you really care about the troops, stop sending them places to die. Yeah. Stop doing that. If you truly care about the lives of the troops, if the troops really matter, stop sending them over to these foreign countries where they lose their lives. Okay? We've been in Iraq for how many years now? What is victory? We're never going to defeat the terrorism. It's never gonna happen. That stuff is gonna go on for decades. Long after a lot of these politicians pass away, it's gonna continue. It's not our job to be the world police and direct how events go on the other side of the planet. That's just not that shouldn't be our role. Okay, I very much believe in non-intervention, but that's not a correct ideology in Washington. And last but not least, he wants to impose significant nuclear constraints on Iran before re-entering the Iran deal. So, for those of you that aren't aware, Donald Trump his administration exited the Iran deal. We thought that when Joe Biden was elected that he would immediately re-enter us into that deal, no matter how difficult it may be, because Donald Trump, towards the end of his presidency, throughout his entire presidency really, but especially towards the end, had been escalating tensions with Iran. And we thought that maybe they could have started a war with them. Anything's possible with that administration. But Joe is now saying, and his administration is now saying, his press secretary said it, they want to impose significant nuclear constraints. So the deal was working out great at first. We were giving them their money back, and they weren't enriching uranium. We give you your money, you don't enrich. Okay? We pulled out of the deal after the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, had checked, I think, at least like 10 or so times to make sure that they weren't enriching, and they weren't. And they were abiding by the deal and doing everything they were supposed to do. We pulled out. They said, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll enrich again. We reprimanded them for that, and now we're trying to impose even more significant constraints. What was wrong with the deal in the first place? See, none of this makes sense to me. None of this makes sense, and they don't have an answer for it. They definitely don't. So that's really the gist of it. I've read you everything that I compiled. Where we go from here is we need radical change, and we need it quickly. We need him to extend Medicare to everybody under the provisions of the ACA through executive order, as the president can do. Will he do that? No, he won't. We need him to cancel student debt. Will he do that? Most likely not. We need him to end the wars. Will he do that? Nah. But you have to fight, okay? This is what I'll say to you. Don't expect anything, but fight for everything, okay? Just because it's the Democrats that are now in office, the perceived good side of, this government that we have, it's not really the good side. I would say it's the better side, because neither side is really good for the American people as it stands right now. So we have to fight, and we can't give up, okay? The left, we're growing, we're getting stronger, and hopefully we'll see more good things in the future from this administration as opposed to bad things.